Haaland has scored 8 hat-tricks, the same number that Michael Owen, Harry Kane and Thierry Henry, who've played over 250 Premier League games, have. Some have thought that teams would have started to figure him out by now, but the Norwegian has already scored back-to-back hat-tricks within the first 3 games of the season. So how is Haaland doing it yet again this time around? The guy is a bit sick. He does a lot of things that people probably don't know, but I've been to his apartment. Dominic Soboslai, who was Haaland's teammate when they were at Red Bull Salzburg, said, Haaland, who never truly relaxed, was always looking for a way to have an advantage over opponents. The striker was always reading scientific articles on how he could improve his sleep and diet to become more efficient. Haaland certainly has a unique routine, but with him scoring 52 goals in 53 appearances in his first season, what Haaland is doing is certainly working for him. Haaland is a complete athlete, just like his heptathlete mum and his dad, retired footballer Alf-Inge Haaland. When he was young, he engaged in several sports, and they have come to benefit him as a footballer. At 6'4", the striker is unstoppable. With his immense strength and incredible pace, he has a command of both of his legs and has an undeniable presence and an ability to understand and read space. This, combined with his finishing abilities, helps him when it comes to contesting aerial balls or running in behind to get at the end of the ball and make something sensational out of it. He's so good with the timing of his runs and understanding of space that he is usually at the right place at the right time to score, from cutbacks or just a regular pass. Haaland has perfected this art to the extent that he doesn't need as many touches on the ball before he can score. No wonder they called him a machine when he was in Germany playing for Dortmund. He does have a robot-like efficiency, but how has no one figured out how to stop him yet? The Norwegian striker isn't just good at goal scoring. There are other parts to his game. Haaland is an old-school 9. In an era of false nines and shadow strikers, he's making a case for the return of traditional strikers. Haaland is a target man that holds up play for his teammates and can also come in deep to provide support for the other players. His play is quite simple to watch, but pulling it off requires incredible technical and tactical understanding. Once he gets the ball, he quickly releases a pass and attacks the opposition box to get at the end of the chance that's created. Still, not everyone thinks Haaland is special, apart from his goal scoring. I mean, Roy Keane certainly doesn't. He said Haaland has the link-up play of a League Two player. Now, do you think that's a fair assessment? Or was Keane being salty? For those of you who don't know, look into Roy Keane's history with Alf-Inge Haaland. Chelsea legend Frank Leboeuf also expressed the same view that Manchester City was hurting how Haaland played due to their indirect approach at times. It is true Haaland played differently from how he did at Dortmund. He was more involved in the general play at Dortmund, but at City, especially in the first 2 seasons, Haaland leaned more into his role as a target man, occupying dangerous positions in the opponent's box, and there is a reason for this, but we'll get to that soon. He didn't press as much for City in his first season, the 22-23 season, and City saw a reduction in their passes per defensive action, or PPDA. Before City signed Haaland, their opponents could only string together about 10 passes last season before City got the ball back from them. During Haaland's first season, that increased to around 12 passes before City got the ball back. Now, it wasn't that Haaland couldn't press. It's just that he isn't as good as Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden or Kevin De Bruyne, who have at one time or the other played the false 9 role for City. So instead, City played to Haaland's strengths, which was scoring goals. To do this, Pep actually fundamentally changed the way City played. He had a striker, and De Bruyne, who was a chef when it came to whipping up pinpoint passes. Haaland gave De Bruyne the perfect outlet. Guardiola needed KDB to be in the position where he could whip up passes to Haaland and not upset the team's balance. So City began to invert their fullbacks, who occupied central positions, with Rodri as City's central midfielder and especially De Bruyne moving to the flanks and having the best areas to whip up those crosses and all range of passes to Haaland. It was a simple approach and it worked. The pattern exploited Haaland's towering presence and his spatial awareness. By November, De Bruyne was averaging 5.79 open play crosses per 90 minutes. Also, Haaland has amazing pace, with a top speed of 36.22 kilometers per hour, making him one of the quickest players in the Premier League. His pace now allowed City to play more on the counter when the situation arose. De Bruyne couldn't do this as well when City played a false nine and made longer and more direct passes forward. But in the new system he could. By November of that 2022-23 season, De Bruyne had already played 14 successful through balls compared with 20 in total in the previous 21-22 season. City had also scored 3 counter-attacking goals, which was more than what they managed in the whole of that 21-22 season. So De Bruyne benefited from Haaland as much as Haaland benefited from him. The two struck a partnership that shook the league to its core. Haaland repaid City for covering for his lesser pressing ability with an incredible conversion rate. This is why, in his first season, Haaland smashed all kinds of records. He scored the most goals in 5 Premier League appearances, became the fastest player to reach 10 goals, among others. He was so crucial to City that he helped them to an historic treble. With Haaland, City finally grasped their elusive Champions League title. Haaland ended the season with a record-breaking 35 goals in 36 matches. He surpassed legends Andrew Cole and Alan Shearer, who scored 34 each in 93-94 and 94-95 seasons, when the league was 42 matches a season and not 38. Now, Haaland did lose form a bit, but he had enough juice to set another record in the 23-24 season by becoming the quickest player in the Premier League to score 50 goals. City found a way to elevate his play by giving him a strike partner in Alvarez, but there were still some parts of his game that weren't quite good enough. As Keane pointed out, Haaland wasn't contributing to the team apart from goals. He wasn't closing down opponents during the press, and his link-up play needed work. Still, he ended the season as the highest goal scorer in the league. Guardiola had seen where Haaland was lacking, and when the pre-season of the 24-25 season started, he had a conversation with Haaland about improvements he needed to make. And then, to further get the best out of Haaland and elevate how City played as a whole, they signed Serginho. And if you want to learn more about who Serginho is and what he brings to the team, click the link here for the video we made on him and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. Serginho and Doku have been set up to provide Haaland with crosses, and this hasn't been working out so far, with teams ready for this approach. Against West Ham, for example, this style was totally ineffective. Only one cross from the duo reached Haaland, and the Norwegian couldn't convert from it. Even the low-driven crosses weren't effective. So how come he still scored a hat-trick against them? And then again against Ipswich? It's quite astonishing. So Haaland himself knows his flaws and has been constantly looking for ways to improve. It turned out that Haaland hasn't quite been himself for the past 2 seasons since he got to the Premier League. He barely has gotten any rest, and because of this, he can't be as mobile as he wants to be on the pitch. Imagine a more mobile Haaland. Terrifying. Norway not qualifying for the Euros was a blessing in disguise for Haaland. He had a full summer of rest, and when he resumed for pre-season, Haaland began to train his passing to elevate his link-up play. He also had restored energy to press. Now Haaland doesn't have to be completely reliant on his teammates for chances. He could press and create one for himself, just as he has done in those 2 matches. By improving his link-up play, Haaland's new 2 wingers, Doku and Serginho, can play around him. He can quickly release passes to them and also match them in pace if they want to give him a return ball, and he'll calmly finish. Looks like all the time Haaland has spent meditating is paying off. Haaland and Szoboszlai shared the same room when they were at Salzburg, and Haaland got him into meditating. And that wasn't all. Haaland also had a sleeping ritual, which freaked Szoboszlai out. Haaland slept with blue blocking glasses, which he believed shut out all the signals in the bedroom and helped him sleep better. It didn't have the same effect on Szoboszlai, but the midfielder believes these are some of the things that make Haaland stand out. What would Szoboszlai do when he discovered his old teammate eats 5,000 calories a day? Apart from that, Haaland eats mostly meat with a preference for steak, cow hearts and liver, while washing it down with filtered water or kale-infused milk. Does this have anything to do with his immense start to this season yet again? Now Haaland is back and better than ever for the 24-25 season. It turned out that he had been dealing with injury since the 22-23 season when he joined City. But with a full summer of rest, Haaland is sharper now and has continued his journey of becoming the Premier League's best striker ever. Already, Haaland has scored 2 hat-tricks and the Terminator is ready for more. Will he be able to surpass legendary Premier League strikers? Let us know what you think.